Here, let's continue our discussion about the geographical reasons why Japanese tend to have eager mind or do a better job at technological innovation. Okay? And in the previous video, we already pointed out the geographical similarities between Great Britain and Japan. We said that both are island economies, and that actually put them uh, at the better position in global trade. Okay, so both economies um, from 19th century to 20th century um, actively advocated or engaged in global trade. Okay? Now, how so? Why the two island economies are, at the better position to trade with the rest of the world? Here, again, I would strongly encourage you to pause the video and think about this. Okay? I can give you a clue, which is a hypothetical example, make up an example. Suppose you live in Portugal, okay, so in Europe, this, western end of the Eurasia continent, okay, Portugal, and you produce certain things, okay, like wines, okay, and and then you find that there's a huge market in Russia who wants to buy your uh, wine. Okay, so you just need to ship the wines from Portugal to Russia, and you find that there are two available routes for you. The first one is a land route, so you go through Spain, Belgium, France, Germany, Poland, Romania, all through these countries, and finally get to Russia. And the second road is a water road. So you take the marine shipment, okay, and go around these countries on the sea, and eventually get to Russia. Okay. Now, suppose the weather is okay. Okay, so both roads are roads available to you. Then which one you would like to take? Which one you think it's gonna be a better one? In what sense you would believe it's a better one? Again, pause the video, give yourself several seconds or even several minutes to think about this. All right. Now let's talk about this. Which road is better? Okay, we can think about this from two different ways. The first one, which one is more costly effective? Okay, and you may find that the marine shipment is much better actually. Okay, if you guys remember, we discussed, I think last time, this big cargo ship or container ship blocked the Suez Canal, right? You can go and Google, how much cargo ships or cargoes this ship actually carries. It may surprise you, I bet. Okay, and it's much uh, more powerful than or more cost effective than the air freight or the railroads. Okay, including railroads and the road transportation. Okay, so even back in 18th or 19th century, you will still find that the boats are better way to ship the goods from one place to another. Okay? Simply because it can carry more than like the horse-drawn wagon. Okay, or any other vehicles on the land. Okay, so per unit cost is much lower. When we choose the water route. Okay, that's why there are some business studies looking at in our box store, um, like Walmart. Okay, approximately 90% of these goods we purchased at Walmart are actually shipped using the waterway. so it's cheaper actually. Okay. The second aspect we should consider here is the risk. Okay, how much risk or security? Okay, if you go through the water, uh, the sea to get to Russia, okay, the risk would be the extreme weather, okay, storms, big waves, okay, and also there's a very slim chance for you to uh, being encountered with pirates, okay, and they're probably gonna take your products away. However, if you choose the land route, then you may find that there are also some risks, including, for example, you could get robbed, right? Because there are way more people living on the land than those living on the sea, and you have to deal with the government as well. Okay? Because there are, as we said, when you go through these countries, there are a lot of national, in state and local government you have to deal with, and all of these governments tend to rob you, with what's called a duty, right? So they are going to charge you when you go through their border. Okay? Even based upon their law, in other words, legally charge you. Okay, not to mention illegally. Okay, they would probably take bribes from you, okay, to give you the convenience to go through their territory. Okay? And also, as we said, there are many like cultural language barriers you may find. Okay, you have to be able to like speak their languages and being familiar with their cultures so that you won't do something stupid, right? You won't be thrown into the jail. So again, in history, the merchants learned very quickly that the waterway is much better, okay, cheaper and safer. So that's why they used to use they're still using again the marine shipment a lot, okay, and that's why here, if we come back and look at Japan and Great Britain, why we believe they are at a better position to be more engaged in global trade. Okay, actually, if you look at the history, you'll find that Great Britain actually benefited a lot from the transatlantic trade, okay, as well. All right, now as we mentioned in the previous video, trade engagement is so important, not really because like by exporting they can make more money, okay, or they can extend the market. These are important, okay, as Adam Smith and David Ricardo points out, okay. But we believe what's more important is you really have to have an open mind, okay, when we look at the technological innovation. Okay? You really have to keep an eye on what's going on outside of your own culture and country. Okay? So you keep absorbing the new ideas, and that definitely lead to more technological innovations. Okay, and here we just use the pair of country, Great Britain and Japan, to help us understand this point. Okay, the importance of trade, which is fundamentally determined by the geographical location. Okay? Now, you probably are not fully convinced at this moment. You probably believe we just cherry pick in these two countries to deliver the point. So please give me more chances, and we can take a look at more empirical evidence. Okay. Now, the first thing we're going to look at is not just Japan, but also the Asian tigers. Okay, because we know Japan in these four Asian tigers are actually the only economies that successfully moved from a relatively low or middle income to a high income groups. Okay, in other words, they successfully become they started with a relatively lower income level, and eventually, today they all become advanced high income groups or developed economies. Okay, they are the only ones. All right, in Asia, I mean. But even when you look at global wide, they are the only fews. Okay, and we have the countries like we're going to talk about later, China, India. They're growing very quickly, but even today they're still middle income countries, not the high income advanced income ones. Okay. Now, when you look at the Japan, we said it's island economy. When we look at these four Asian tigers, you would also find that here Taiwan is also an island economy, right? South Korea, Hong Kong here, Singapore here, they are peninsulas. Okay, so again, you don't really have to be just the island or completely surrounded by water. Once you have enough access to sea, to marine shipment, then you would have the pretty good position to be very much engaged in global trade. Okay, as we could say here, Taiwan, South Korea, Hong Kong, and Singapore, they all are pretty aggressive importers and exporters. Okay, if you look at, for example, Singapore and Hong Kong, their trade volume are even more than their national output. Okay, their GDP. Okay, so again, this is another piece of the evidence which which is consistent with what we just said. Okay, about the importance of global trade engagement. But again, the fundamental cause here is a geographical location. Okay, because they are, they have more access to marine shipment, so that's why they trade more. Okay. And here, let me try another way to help you understand this, the importance of the geographical location. If we don't look at, these island economies or peninsula economies, let's look at these, what we call the landlocked economies. Okay, and here you would find many landlocked economies in Asia and Africa. Okay, and here again, I would strongly encourage you to pause the video and think about any correlation between their geographical location and their income level. All right, now let's take a look at this. We find these economies, let's just look at Asia. Okay, so these are Central Asia economies. They used to be the former, Soviet Union economies, right? And here Mongolia and Nepal, right? Laos. These economies, again, they are all landlocked economies. In other words, they don't have even 1 mile of coastline. They don't have any seaport, okay, in their country. And also, if you look at other landlocked economies in Africa, you find the same thing. All of these economies are relatively poor, okay, and they are, to say the best, the middle income countries. And many of these, especially in Asia, in Africa, are extremely poor economies. Okay, do you still believe this is a coincidence? Okay, like these island or peninsula economies are relatively richer or better developed, but the landlocked economies are kind of poor, okay, developing ones. Again, go back to the point, as we said, trade is super important, not just because it helps these economies to make money from other economies, but to help them better, keep an open mind, okay, so that they would be a better technological innovator, okay, which is actually the permanent source of economic development. If they can, keep innovating, then they will definitely be more productive. So they're gonna achieve a higher and higher income. Okay. However, in these landlocked economies, they're not much engaged in global trade, but they are also mind locked. Okay, so it's what's locked not just about their land, but about their minds. Okay,